Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be showing you a painting that I did of an African elephant. I just did this over this last weekend, so I finished it I think 2 days ago. Yeah, so here you can see I did a couple of warm-up sketches just to kind of see what elephant proportions were like, things like that, warm up a little. I've drawn elephants in the past, but not really at a larger scale, mostly just doodles and everything, and I definitely wasn't all that familiar with the anatomy. Their heads are very odd shapes. If you've ever seen a picture of an elephant skull, you can definitely see it in their actual head shape, and it's pretty wild. Right, so I found a composition and a pose and a reference I kind of like, so now I'm going in and doing the actual sketch. I'm using a square piece of acrylic paper. I tested it out. I found that this worked relatively well for the inks I'm going to be using, and usually my comfort zone is going to be using watercolor paper, but that just wasn't working out all that well for the acrylics. Even when I was like gessoing it and everything, so this just made it easier. I don't know exactly what size that paper is. I'm gonna say it's probably like a 12 by 12, so a foot square. I don't know what that is in meters, so if you use the metric system, which actually makes sense, sorry. Right, so I did this piece for a challenge that was posted up on Instagram by Sunshine Inspired Fauna. Every month they do like a conservation awareness art prompt challenge, and this month's was African Savannah, and they are trying to raise money for the African Community and Conservation Foundation, or ACCF. And what they do is they work on conserving African species by working with the community rather than like around it and just trying to make policies and stuff. They're actually working with people to teach them how to live with the wildlife, which personally I think is probably the best way to go about things. If you just tell people what to do, they're not going to do it. We're people. That's just how it works. But if you show everyone how to actually live with each other without disrupting daily life cycle, showing them that is possible, then it's much more likely to happen. You may have noticed a little bit ago I was like halfway done with the sketch and then I just erased it all. I didn't like the composition. I did a lion painting previously, so I was kind of trying to keep that style, and just it didn't fit. It was supposed to like be kind of a portrait. This one was a little bit more than that, but just the head wasn't nearly big enough. For some reason I started with like the ears as my base, and it didn't work out. So I did what I normally do, started with like placing the skull basically and working around that. That usually works for me when proportions aren't going well. Yeah, so I went back in my sketchbook and I reevaluated my borders and did that all again. In working through this, I knew elephants were like wrinkly, and I was like, great, I'm gonna have to try to figure that out, but oh my gosh, it was pretty hard. Painting wrinkles isn't something I have a lot of experience with. Normally I do like not skin, like feathers and scales and fur, fun other textured stuff, so this was a little bit of a challenge to try to work through, but I think it ended up alright. I mean, whenever you run into something like that where it's like, oh, I've never done it before, it looks really complicated, you just need to take a step back and approach it like you would anything else. I just went through my normal process, built it up from lights to darks, and I think it worked out relatively well. Definitely room to learn, but I think it went better than I expected for sure. Right, so I just used my nifty little drafting eraser to lighten up the lines there so I can start going in with my non-waterproof black ink. And that's, so the elephant itself is going to be a grayscale painting, and the background's going to have colors and stuff. You'll see. Right, so I always first just go in and do a wash of water. I'm not sure if I actually cut that part out. It's pretty boring. You can't even see anything happening. But that way when I go in and put in that first wash layer of the really light gray, it spreads out pretty easily. You don't see a lot of like the lines and everything in the brush stroke, because this is just going to be a foundational base. I'm just kind of setting up some of the base values, leaving it alone where it's going to be the lightest, adding a couple more layers where it's going to be darker. Because when you're working with inks like this, especially in this paper, it did not want to move around at all, even when I tried rewetting it. You always want to work from light to dark because you can make things darker, but you can't make them lighter. So kind of around this point, I was thinking I might have to scrap it just because of the way that the ink was setting, and it looked all mottled and kind of gross. I was like, oh, I rushed it. I didn't wait for it to dry first. I should have waited, and now it's gonna be all ruined. But it'll skip in a little bit, and you can see it actually. When it dried, it was fine. So I just let it sit for a little bit and kept working on it. This one, it was a lot darker from my last painting, so it was a little bit of a challenge because when I was painting over it again, it looked way darker than it actually dried, which that's kind of normal. It's normal for it to be darker, but in this case, even if I just got it wet, it would get super dark, so I had to work very slowly on it. This is, what, a 19-minute video, something like that, and the painting itself took me around 6 hours from start to finish, so like from sketch to like done. So I work a little bit slow, but it's not too bad. I think I am getting faster, but I kind of want to take my time on it. Like, school starts again next week, and I just didn't want to stress myself out like at all. Yeah, so right there you can see it got like super dark real quick. I hardly added anything. When it dries, you're probably barely gonna be able to tell. The darks you won't even really be able to see until I go in with like the straight black ink and it bleeds around and everything. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I had to say. So the elephant was painted in, like I said, non-waterproof black inks, just because I have like black watercolor, but the ink was closer. They're essentially exactly the same. So yeah, I'm just remembering doing that and thinking I ruined the entire thing, but it ended up fine. It actually made it work out a little bit better. So I'm going in with just about straight black ink, and it's finally adding in some of those darker values, and you'll probably watch me struggle with that lower area and all the wrinkles and stuff for a while. And the background was just simple and fun, something I'm still working on, but I think the style of it is getting a little bit better. We'll see how that changes over time, or if I just stop doing that. But for now, I think it's kind of fun. It's a change up from my normal style. Yeah, so the background is acrylic paint, and then this is ink, like I said. I do go over it towards the end with a little bit of whitewash just to help lighten up a couple of the places that I got a little too dark, or lighter spots that weren't just quite like white enough. It also helps add a little bit of texture. Yeah, so if I see something else pop up that I want to talk about, I will, of course, come and talk about it, but otherwise, enjoy the rest of the video. Bye!